안녕하십니까.
Good morning.
글로벌 코리아 박람회 우수사회 발표 세션을
This is the best practice session of Global Korea Convention 2020, and I am Jeon Heng-jin from Arirang TV. We had day 1 yesterday, and today we will have day 2. So there are 36 presentations in total, and each of the presentations are 15 minutes long.
한국개발연구원에서
This session has been hosted by the NRC and organized by KDI. It is participated by government ministries and public institutions and private firms and civil society groups. We will be presenting overseas cooperation best practices, and we will be able to learn about the best practices of the different organizations.
이 행사는 지금 현재 이 K호텔에서 진행이 되고 있고요.
This session is taking place at the K Hotel and is being broadcast online. Also, we're providing simultaneous interpretation into Korean and English. Korean is on channel number 1 and English is on channel number 2.
2020 글로벌 코리아 박람회 참가해 주신 모든
I would like to thank all of you who are participating in the Global Korea Convention 2020. So we will now have session 4. Session 4 has to do with education institutions. And the first presentation will be made by Mr. Kim Hong-gil of the Korean Council for University College Education. And the presentation will be on global practical training programs.
예, 안녕하십니까. 전문대학 글로벌
Good morning.
사례 발표를 맡은 한국전문대학 교육협의
My name is Kim Hong-gil, and I am from the Korean Council for University College Education.
목차입니다. 먼저
This is my table of contents. I would like to introduce KCCE to you and talk about the global practical training program that we have. Most of the other institutions probably talked about international cooperation programs that they initiate and carry out. However, it is a little bit different for us, because I will be talking about the Global Practical Training Program where we train students. This is an introduction of the KCCE.
사립전문대학 134개 대학 총장협의체
The KCCE's members are the chairpersons of the 134 junior colleges in Korea.
직업교육정책
And on the slide, you can see a list of the KCCE. KCCE is in charge of coordinating the different roles of the different junior colleges. This is the organizational chart. You can see that we have an auditor and the BOD and the chairperson and the secretary general.
사별 규제 개선을 통한 입학 자원 확보 그리고 국내 정주 여건 개선을 위해 노력하고 있으며
We try to better the environment for junior colleges in Korea, and we try to do away with discrimination against students from overseas. Also, we try to support our students when they go overseas to get further training.
저희 협의에서 적극 지원하도록 하겠습니다. 전문대학의 비전과 목표와 추진 방향
Here on this slide, I talk about the vision and goal and direction of junior colleges.
사례에 대해서
And next, I would like to talk about the Global Practical Training Program, which is part 2 of my presentation.
16년간
So this program has been in place for about 16 years, and in total, 8,000 students have participated.
연계한 글로벌 현장 학습을 통해서
Through this program, students are able to enhance their language skills and also foster major-related work skills.
지원하는 대표적인
By doing this, the students are able to better their probability of getting decent jobs.
비자 추적이 가능한 국가로 지금까지
And until now, students have been sent to about 20 different nations. So the US, Canada, UK, Australia, Taiwan, Malaysia, and China are the countries that are included in that list of 20 countries. And as for the period, the student will be dispatched from 4 months to 6 months. And through this training, the students are able to get on-the-job training, and they can receive around 20 credits. Also, we provide financial support, and it depends on the country that the student visits. So 8 million for the US, Canada, Australia, and so forth. And for Japan and Singapore, 6.5 million, and 4.5 million won for China and Southeast Asia. Also, the schools, the universities have to provide a matching fund of about 20%, and the student will burden part of the payment, but this has to be less than 20% of the total cost. There are different selection processes. We have free selection and also designated selection. Under the free selection program, the colleges can decide to which job site the student will go to. As for the designated selection, KCCE has an open contest to select the organization where the students will be dispatched to. And under the free selection program, we have general selection and open selection. And we have different ways of qualifying the students. As for the general selection, the student has to meet the GPA requirement and also must show language skills. As for the open selection, there is no GPA requirement, so more doors are open for the students. And as for the designated selection process, here there is the GPA requirement. And so here we have the colleges where the students will be sent to in 2020. You can see that there are 8 institutes. This is under the designated program, and as for the free selection process under that, 18 institutes have been sent. And this program was selected as Let's Train 100,000 Global Adolescent Leaders program, which is a national task. And you can see that the program has been well received and the satisfaction level of the students are quite high. Also, we wanted to expand the program, and we took extra measures in 2015, and we had an open selection process where students who left school for a few years and came back could participate. However, it was unfortunate that this year we had the pandemic and we had to stop the program this year. Anyhow, until now, more than 8,000 students have benefited from the practical training program. And the universities, the colleges will select the students and carry out prior education in Korea. And then the students go overseas and they have adjustment training and also have language training. And then they receive practical training in a company that is linked to the student's major. So this is a very systematic system, and the students are able to become global talents. After sending the students overseas, we follow up to see if there are any problems or difficulties that the students are experiencing. Also, the students can make suggestions so that any problems can be solved.
해외 취업 기회 제공을 하기 위해서는
Also,
지원 사업이 정해진 사업이나
we have a program that is supported by the Korean government so that the students can get jobs overseas if they wish to.
학생들의 안전사고나
And since the pandemic, we have tried to systemize safety management, and that is why we have brochures and pamphlets talking about student safety. And also, we have strengthened the accountability of the universities.
지급
Also, we are planning many online training programs
참여하는
to replace the face-to-face programs that we have.
노력하고 있습니다.
And so we're working hard to enhance the satisfaction level of the students. So here I have the number of students that participated in the program and the number of students. And so in year 2005, we sent 368 students to 45 universities. And in 2019, you can see that 418 students have been selected and have been sent to 56 nations. And the US, Canada, UK, China, Japan are the main countries where the students go to.
진행을 하고 있습니다.
And that's what you see on the pie chart. And on the bar graph, you can see the satisfaction level, and you can see that the satisfaction level of the students is very high. And as a result, the competitive rate has been increasing. The competitive rate was 2-1 in 2018, and it has increased to 4-1 in year 2019.
제공을 위해 2020년부터는
And from 2020, we are additionally selecting students from multicultural homes.
취업 지학 개청에 참여
And if you look at the last 3 years'
31%
results, you can see that the ratio of disadvantaged students was 17.9% in 2017, but it increased to 31% in 2018 and 34.2% in 2019.
기회 제공을 통해 국내 및
Here I show you the employment rate of the students who have participated in this program. So for junior colleges, their employment rate is 70%. However, as for our program participants, this number is higher at 75%.
해외 취업
Also, this program is very beneficial to students who wish to get jobs overseas.
글로벌 헬스학습 사업을 통해 강화된 학생들의 해외 취업 도전이
And on this map, you can see the
사업이라고 말씀
number of students who were able to
호주,
who were able to participate in this program and get jobs overseas.
되고 있습니다.
And you can see that we're diversifying the countries where we send the students.
한국전문대학 교육협의회는 모든
So KCCE
해외 진출의 꿈을 응원하고 도전할 수 있도록 최선의 노력을
will
하겠습니다.
cheer and do our best for the betterment of the junior college students in Korea. And I would like to thank you for this opportunity so that I could introduce the Global Practical Training Program to you.
하면서 저의 발표를
We have a short video in English for those of you who are joining in from overseas or listening to the English channel. And on that note, I would like to conclude my presentation.
The Global Practical Training Program for University College Students is a representative state-funded training program to cultivate professional workers suitable for the globalized business environment and helps university college students develop global competence and employability skills in the age of globalization. The Global Practical Training Program for University College Students is hosted by the Ministry of Education and conducted by the Korean Council of University College Education. It provides students in university colleges with various opportunities to take practical training courses abroad so that they can develop a global mindset, practical skills for their majors, and employability skills. Students selected as trainees take preliminary training courses in Korea and are dispatched to other countries where they take preparatory training courses on language, of culture and academic majors, and practical training at companies related to their majors. After that, post-management service is provided, such as mentoring. As such, this is a systematic training program to cultivate university college students into global talents. The Global Practical Training Program for University College students is the only overseas dispatch program for students in university colleges that has been conducted since 2005. Thus far, over 8,000 students have taken part in this program and have successfully grown into professional workers suitable for the globalized business environment by acquiring work experience and employability skills abroad. The Global Practical Training Program for University College students is implemented every year for the capacity building of students and university colleges. Students are dispatched to various countries, including the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, China, and Singapore for 4 to 6 months. The student satisfaction rate is high, and so is the competition rate among applicants. In addition, the number of students who find jobs abroad after this program has been steadily increasing. The budget for this program is funded by government subsidies, matching grants by university colleges, and fees paid by students. The amount of the government subsidies differs by country. Students who apply for this program are required to be enrolled in a university college. They must have completed at least 2 semesters with a cumulative GPA of 3.0 or above and meet the standards of foreign language qualification. In addition, underprivileged students are preferentially selected. University colleges across Korea support the youth with the spirit of challenge. Korea Council for University College Education.
예, 끝까지 경청해 주셔서
Thank you very much for your attention. I would now like to finish my presentation. Thank you.
대학교 교육협의회
Yes, that was the KCCE, Mr. Kim Hong-gil, and the presentation was on Global Practical Training Program.
사장님 앞으로
Next, I would like to invite President Kang Hyun-hwa from King Sejong Institute Foundation
한국어 세계화나 한국
in terms of globalization of the Korean language as well as the Korean culture. King Sejong Institute Foundation is very well known for its wonderful achievements. So please, your presentation. Very nice to meet you all. I am President Kang Hyun-hwa of King Sejong Institute Foundation. Let me begin my presentation.
저희 세종학당재단의 주요 사업을
Let me go into the major programs of King Sejong Institute Foundation. We're focused on globalization of the Korean language and also communicating Korean culture. We designate King Sejong Institutes. We prepare Korean materials and also reinforce teacher training, facilitate cultural exchange, and also promote King Sejong Institute's programs as well as engage in international cooperation. Next, moving on to our footprint. King Sejong Institutes are in 76 countries and we total 213. In 2020, we have added new 34 King Sejong Institutes to the map. The number of students or learners amount to 72,000.
저희 재단이 하고
Next is on our major programs. And I would like to also introduce you to an example of international cooperation. First, we want to diversify designation of King Sejong Institutes. In the past, it was focused on our partnership with local universities, but with local governments, private sector, and public institutions, we would like to expand our footprint and diversify the designations. Second is to enhance promoting public good. We have underprivileged, and we want to also support them in their efforts to learn. And not only that, even after the education and training, we want to offer them with employment and growth opportunities. Next is on the online program. As we are moving into a contactless, untapped world, we of course have to make use of fourth industrial revolution technologies. And of course, we are an offline network. So in order to overcome the limitations, what we want to do is put in place a platform to expand the materials and our training online. We want to create an online King Sejong Institute platform, and we want to offer this in 10 languages so that students can learn the Korean language in an online format. Next is on the Nuri Sejong King Sejong Institute cultural portal. We have 47 types of cultural contents and amount to 4,633 contents. So we want to offer information on the Korean culture as well. And here at this cultural portal, we also offer contents for teacher training. Next is to enable self-study of the learners. We want to make it as efficient as possible and also make the Korean materials accessible. So we have a mobile study app for our learners. Next is, as we engage in the online programs, we have AI technologies tapped into this to help them practice speaking. And not only that, with big data accumulation, we're sharing this with the academia and the private sector, and also with the universities, both home and abroad, and relevant institutions. We put together materials, and we're sharing this information on this online platform. Next, we dispatch Korean language teachers. We have 180 teachers and 502 local teachers. A total of 732 Korean teachers are currently working at the King Sejong Institute. Fifth is on enhancing the capabilities of local teachers of King Sejong Institute. We want to build a candidate pool, and not only that, enable the local teachers to get certified. Online and offline retraining courses are offered to the teachers, and 4 times a year, we also engage in regional teaching and training workshops. Sixth is the King Sejong Cultural Academy. We have with arts and cultural institutions and relevant universities and colleges, we offer 11 King Sejong programs, especially focused on culture and arts. So in line with these strategies, let me now move on to an example of a best practice of international cooperation. First is engaging in cooperation with local institutions. As you know, we have many fans of Hallyu, or the Korean wave, and the exports of this Korean culture is increasing. And the Korean government also has been trying to expand the King Sejong Institute for this endeavor. In 2020, 222, the goal is to expand the institute to 270 institutes. So in 2020, we now have 213 institutes been running. But just in 2020 alone, we have added 34 institutes. And with this, we were able to exceed number 200. And in the designations, we had 101 institutions that made submissions from 55 countries. So it was probably the highest number of submissions in history. And the 34 institutes that were designated include non-designated, well, new countries, including Ethiopia, Algeria, and Estonia. And we also have Sweden and Denmark that have launched their very first institute. And in our partnership with the local institutions, in addition to the universities both home and abroad, we've been working with the consulates as well as the various overseas missions. For instance, we have ITCA School and the SEM Education of Vietnam. So we have the private sector that were our partners, and we also worked with the local partners. We have Yongsan-gu Office, Hongchun District Office, and Chongnu District Office to work with Quy Nhon City Government of Vietnam, San Juan City Government of the Philippines, and Phoi Phet City Government of Cambodia. So we've forged these new types of relationships with different institutions. Next is on the partnership with the local community. The King Sejong Institute Foundation also have various programs, specialization programs, as well as lectures on the go. Specialization programs have to do with customizing, in other words, catering to the needs of the local community. And the lectures on the go have to do with regions where they do not have institutes but want to learn the Korean language and the Korean culture, and we offer training for that. Let me give you an example. We have at the Sejong Institute of Kaohsiung, Taiwan, we, for the public officials of Taiwan, offered Korean language training. And at the King Sejong Institute of Ulaanbaatar II of Mongolia, we offered free of charge training for the underprivileged. And the La Soulaise Institute of France has offered club activities and programs for the youth. And the San Francisco Sejong Institute offered Korean cultural programs for those that use the city library. Not only that, we have the Palang City Institute and the Haiphong Sejong Institute of Vietnam. This is for the children of multicultural families as well as local workers. So as you can see, we've been offering customized and specialized education for various groups. And the third point I would like to make is on the partnership that we had with a local Korean language institution. At the end of 2019 to 2020, we put in place the online King Sejong Institute platform. 213 institutes switched to the e-class format. And the next slide also includes what kind of support we offered. There were cases where online systems were obsolete, so they were able to utilize our system to offer Korean language training. For instance, with the Bangladesh EPS Center has worked with the Korean Industrial Human Resources Foundation to offer education to migrant workers, and we also worked with KOICA to train the volunteers of Korean language education. Next is on our partnership with the Korean cultural centers as well as the consulates and overseas missions in 4 areas: in Turkey, in Indonesia, and Vietnam. And India, we've offered these pilot programs, online, offline programs, hands-on programs, and OJT was the process to nurture the candidates of Korean language teachers. This is what it looks like when the classes are conducted. And the fifth is the partnership with local institutions. In November this year in Vietnam, we had a King Sejong Institute workshop. In addition to the 15 King Sejong Institutes, we had KOICA and KF dispatched employees that were involved, and we worked with 30 universities of Vietnam, and we've gathered the teachers and the experts of Korean language. Here, the Minister of Culture, Sports and Tourism also was a part of this workshop, and he has mentioned that he wants the Korean language to become the second foreign language of Vietnam. And a operation committee of Vietnam that focuses on languages have announced that Korea will be the first foreign language in the curriculum in 2021. So this was a very good start in terms of our partnership with Vietnam and also the prominence of the Korean language in Vietnam. We've also facilitated cultural exchange with local institutions. The Asia Ibero-America Cultural Foundation was our partner to provide Korean culture content to the regions. Not only that, there are many examples of our partnerships with local institutions to spread and disseminate Korean culture. Sixth is on how we produced Korean materials locally with the press in the local region. There are many customs issues and cost issues related to exporting materials. So what we did was in 2019, starting from Vietnam, we published Korean materials there, and also in Turkey, we've published Korean materials. And the seventh is on the cooperation with the local governments as well as the academia. We've taken part in various exhibitions hosted by local governments to disseminate Korean language and Korean culture, and we also took part in educational exhibitions by the academia to provide Korean language materials to the participants. This picture indicates the November 2019 exhibition in Turkmenistan. The Ministry of Education, the Sports Youth Ministry, and with the Chamber of Commerce of Turkmenistan, we opened booths. We provided Korean language materials at this exhibition, which was a great achievement. Next is the exhibition with the AATK, the American Association of Teachers of Korean. This consists of teachers of both elementary, middle, and high schools of North America. And we were able to provide our materials at this exhibition, and we were also a presenter at this exhibition. We provided an example of blended learning that's offered by Nuri Sejong, King Sejong Institute. So that were some of the examples of our international cooperation, and let me conclude. Thank you very much.
네, 세종학당재단의 강현아.
Yes, President Kang Hyun-na from King Sejong Institute Foundation has given us a presentation on the many best practices of international cooperation. Thank you very much.
Next, I would like to invite Mr. Park Young-sang from KOSAF, Korea Student Aid Fund, and he will talk about KOSAF's international cooperation best practices.
네, 안녕하십니까?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
박영상입니다.
My name is Park Young-sang. I'm in charge of international relations at KOSAF, and I'm very glad to be here. I would like to congratulate all the other organizations for being selected to present during this best practice session. I will now begin my
한국장학재단에 대한
presentation. I will begin with an introduction of KOSAF and talk about international cooperation programs that we carried out using K-Quarantine and talk about results and future plans. First, I would like to briefly introduce KOSAF.
장학재단은 대학생 학자금 지원 제도를 효율적으로 운영하여
KOSAF carries out student loans so that regardless of financial situation, everyone can have higher education.
재단은 크게 네 가지 사업을 수행.
As for our foundation, we have four major projects.
첫 번째,
First
예산을 활용하여 소득 수준에 따라
is
지원하는 국가
to provide state scholarship and other scholarships.
상환 부담 없이 공부하고 그리고
Also, we have a student loan program, and the students can pay back the loan after they graduate.
해외 어학연수,
We also have
인재 육성 사업,
a training talent program, and lastly, we have a dormitory business. And we provide dormitories and also workspaces for students and also people who are starting new companies.
다양한 사업을 수행하고 있습니다.
And so KOSAF has very diverse and numerous programs. Next, I would like to go into part 2, which has to do with our international cooperation program using K-Quarantine.
재단은 세계
This is the current status of our international cooperation. We maintain international cooperation relations with 44 institutes in 27 nations. Notably, I would like to point out JASO of Japan and HESFB in Africa, DSW and CNOUS in Europe, and CACUS in North America, and ICETEX in Latin America. We have regular forums with these different institutes, and we have made our network stronger. We have a forum biannually, that is every 2 years.
학자금 지원 동향을 파악하고
And through these forums, we were able to learn best practices and also learn about trends in terms of scholarships and student loans. However, this year was quite different. Because of COVID-19, we were able to have face-to-face meetings with our partners.
하지만 우리는 포기하지 않았습니다.
However, we did not give up.
학자금 포럼과 같은 오프라인 만남을 대신하여
Instead of the face-to-face forums, we found ways to make our networks stronger through other means, and our answer was K-Quarantine.
해외 유관 기관 직원들이 사용할 수 있는 마스크와 기관장
We wanted to provide masks to our partners, and by sending these masks and a letter to the heads of these different institutes, we were able to strengthen our relationship. Of course, we could not send the masks to all the institutes, and that is why we chose 11 institutes in 9 nations. These are the institutes where we already have an MOU or will be signing an MOU. And
최대 수량인 1,000장을
we sent different numbers of masks to the countries depending on how serious the pandemic was, and the maximum number was 1,000 masks. And of course, earlier this year, it was difficult to get masks, even in Korea. And of course, the situation was even more serious overseas, and the masks that we sent were much appreciated.
과정이 쉽지는 않았습니다.
However, sending the masks was not easy.
구매 수량이
Now, as for the disposable masks, there was a limit to making bulk purchases in Korea, and it was not allowed to send these masks overseas. And that is why we had to find ways to overcome these issues. And that is why we
기관에서 공식적인
purchased cotton masks,
그에 더해서
and we carried out a performance test, and we had our employees test out the mask by wearing the masks themselves and also boiling the masks in hot water, and seeing whether they were effective. And also, we went to the factories to secure the masks. However, they were not happy with the volume that we wanted and the cost that we were discussing. However, we had in-depth discussions with these factories, and we were able to secure the masks that we needed. However, it was difficult to actually send the masks overseas, and we had to use a specific courier service, Company F. Now, as for Uganda,
우간다는
we ran into obstacles. Even this courier company F was unable to send masks to Uganda.
D 업체를 이용해서
And so we used the courier company D in order to deliver the masks to Uganda. However, we ran into custom clearance issues because the Uganda government shut down the custom clearance for quarantine reasons. And that is why we had to work together with KSIF of Uganda, and we found a solution.
마침내
We all worked with the Uganda government, and ultimately we were able to deliver deliver the masks that we sent to the staff members of KSFB.
무사히
And in the end, we were able to deliver all our masks to the 11 institutes in 9 nations. Next, I would like to talk about results and future plans.
감사 메시지가
We have received thank you messages from all over the world, and they sent us pictures, they sent us their thank you letters,
기관장들은 감사 편지를 보내기도 했고
and the heads of institutes sent letters, and some of the letters were short, but they were handwritten, and some of these presidents sent us small gifts along with the letters. That was also another moving experience. We want to fully utilize this experience, and we have some institutes where we want to further and cement our relationship. And with these institutes, we had online meetings. As a result, we were able to have discussions with DAAD in Germany and also CACUS in Canada and so forth. And we were able to discuss how we can further cooperation among one another, and we were able to sign MOUs. And the MOUs have to do with exchange of students and exchange of experience.
이런 사례는 상대국과 우리나라의 일간지에
And these projects and programs were introduced in the press of the relevant nations and, of course, in Korea. And so these are the results. We were able to strengthen solidarity with these numerous institutes. And we have made advancements so that we can sign business agreements with these different institutes. But we will not stop here. We will continue our efforts in order to expand the global network that we have, and we will work hard to establish a global consultative body in order to support students all around the world. Through this best practice case, we realize that if we are sincere, then others will realize how much we care. And we will further develop the student aid program, student support program that we have. Thank you very much.
네, 한국창학재단의
Yes, that was Mr. Park Young-sang from KOSAF.
오늘 첫 번째 세션이었고요.
So that was the first session for day 2, and we heard from 3 organizations,
10분 정도 쉬었다가
KCCE and the KSIF and KOSAF. We will now break
공사, 한국철도공사가
20 minutes, and then in the next session we will hear from Korea Land and Housing Corporation, HUG, KIND, and KORail. Thank you.